agenda. This is for discussion, forming a committee for the 250th anniversary celebration of our country. So we have a big milestone to mark. I noticed that there was a nice article in the paper recently about what the county's going to do with respect to the 250th anniversary. I would guess that we would work together with the county to, participate and help with whatever they are planning to do. But I have had some questions from local folks interested in whether we might establish a committee for Townsend. Of course, we have a nice fireworks and celebration every 4th of July. We're so grateful for that. My guess is that this 250th anniversary celebration, while it might have some sort of focus on July the 4th, might not be exclusive to July the 4th. It might be something that people celebrate all year long. I was around for the last bicentennial in 1976, and I remember we celebrated all year on that thing. So we welcome your thoughts about establishing sort of a time-limited committee representing Townsend. They could engage with the county and sort of work here locally, but also be dovetailing with what the county is going to do. So we'd love to hear feedback on whether we ought to establish such a committee.
Instead of just saying July 4th, can we also, I make a motion that we also add Independence Day
Yeah.
to the description?
Okay, so Commissioner Hedrick, I sort of hear you making a motion that maybe we ought to form a committee for 250th anniversary of Independence Day. Okay. Do I have a second on that motion? Then we can have some more discussion.
I'll second it to bring it up for discussion.
Okay. Now, I know that our fire department has a great stake in presenting our 4th of July celebration. And that we have some local citizens that are also quite generous and help us have a very nice celebration on the 4th of July. And that celebration is much beloved by our citizens and visitors. So I wouldn't want anything to, interfere with that, but I would want, this to sort of augment that, and maybe it's something throughout the year. So that would be my comments on the motion.
I think it would be nice to have a committee with the fire department, Parks and Rec, the Heritage Center, the Railroad Museum, with the county, or I'm just naming some people off, but those come off the top of my head first.
Who else was somebody else that had mentioned this to you besides up at the Heritage Center?
I've had several people ask me, are we doing something for 250th? I had Commissioner Martin, you're not using your microphone.
Sorry. So who would we want to be on the committee?
Well, here's what I would suggest, that if we do the committee, we'll just use our usual process and go out for a call for expressions of interest. And we'll try to get a committee that represents our citizens, local businesses, and community organizations like that Heritage Center. So we'll put out a call for expressions of interest, and then maybe at our next meeting, discuss what we get back and see who we might want to populate that committee with.
Has the county done anything like this, and what are their plans, or?
I'm not, they do have plans, but I'm not involved with the plans.
Yeah, I think, and what I know at this point is from the newspaper. So we need to get somebody on this that has bandwidth to be able to help with that. So that's, another.
Well, maybe just put out a call and see what kind of interest we get back from the community who would want to be involved in planning this celebration.
Well, what are we looking at to, what is the big picture that we want to bring in? Like, do something at the Heritage Center and then go somewhere else and then finish up at, at Highland Manor where we normally shoot the fireworks off? What are we thinking? What is the bigger picture? What do we want to add?
Yeah.
I think the committee would come up with that proposal.
I think the committee would come up with it, and I think it's sort of a year-long celebration, more than just the 4th of July. They would build the 4th of July into that, but, you know, I can see special exhibits happening, or people might decide they want to do a special thing. Remember, we have sort of a reserved date at the visitor center we could take advantage of. So we, you know, there's a lot of different options, I think, that the committee would potentially come up with things. But I do like the idea of the city sort of fostering this and establishing a committee. I think people will, just based on the people that have reached out to me, I think we'll get sufficient interest that would be able to support it.
I think Chief Starling, did you have something to?
Just because we are involved in it, if I can, you know, make a recommendation too, I think you would want to make sure that you have representatives from the Heritage Center, so instead of just an all-call, if maybe the city could organize it to make sure you have Railroad Museum involved, Heritage Center involved, Fire Department involved, citizens involved, and structured that way so you know you have representatives from each one of those instead of just a committee that goes to those.
I think that's generally the approach we took with the community plan. We wanted to have citizens, wanted to have businesses and community organizations. So those are sort of our three big buckets. I think you're exactly right. Further discussion? Okay. All in favor of forming a committee and putting out a call for expressions of interest, say aye.
Aye.
I'm for Independence Day.
Any opposed? Okay. For Independence Day. Okay. Then the motion passed and we'll form a committee. We'll call for expressions of interest. Next item, noise ordinance, discussion on current noise regulations and potential updates to implement. From a workshop a while back, we did get the noise ordinance out. We took a look at that. In our municipal code, it talks about a lot of different types of noise. And so in order to enforce, you know, some sort of ordinance against noise, the ordinance is really, or the code is really directed toward different types of noise, like yelling and screaming, like phonographs, like other stuff. And so in our workshop, we had the idea that we would want to modernize our noise ordinance, and there was some discussion. It's true, it has phonographs in here.
Have some kind of photograph.
Well, I still have phonographs. But one of the ways to do that is to utilize what they call content neutral noise threshold. So during certain hours of the day, you could have a noise level, and then other hours, like, you know, we sort of call it the quiet hours, but you could have sort of different levels of noise, different on the weekend, different during the day, and it was, in general, in the community ordinances I've looked at, it goes sort of like the lighting ordinance, where at the edge of the property or at the edge of some predetermined thing, you have the number of foot candles, and that actually becomes something that can be enforceable in terms of lighting standards. And we already have that in our lighting ordinance. So there's kind of a content neutral approach to lighting ordinance. What we don't have in the noise ordinance is anything that, you know, really would help us to enforce something. So whether somebody is, you know, violating the ordinance by yelling and screaming, that's a little bit hard to tell. And so as a result of the feedback that I've gotten is our current code is not really enforceable. We are the peaceful side of the Smokies, and I frequently see things coming in from our citizens about noise. And so one way to move forward on this, and I welcome your feedback, would to be to bring back the noise ordinance, part of our code, and utilize something like content neutral, or if you all have any better ideas on how to advance that, I would welcome those. So I'll open it up for discussion. We'll have some brief discussion recognizing that we're approaching 9 o'clock.
And when I saw this, noise is one of the biggest issues during festivals and concerts. If we can reduce the impacted radius of the noise, that would be very beneficial for our residents and tourists alike.
Commissioner Hedrick. Other feedback?
How would we regulate by decimals or,
Well, a content neutral focuses on a certain level of decibel. And one of the things I'd ask citizens to do is to give us some feedback. What is the right number of decibels? We're not the only community that uses this. You can get an app on your phone, measures decibels, and you can go around, give us some idea about, how much is too much. You can look at charts that say a chainsaw is this much, a tractor is this much. But we would need to have some sort of starting point. We've got to make it right for Townsend. And so, maybe it's in certain areas, but Commissioner Hedrick, to your point, one way to think about it is kind of like the lighting standards, or at the perimeter of the property, at the radius, it could be measured and you could say, it's too much. And then that gives whoever is doing the activity, and some of these are activities that we want, an ability to moderate that, do it at a different time, put a muffler on that, or whatever.
Or just turn the volume down.
Or turn the volume down if it's something that's the volume. So, but we're the peaceful side, smoking people asked us about it, we talked about it in a workshop, and we put it on our priority list, and so tonight's the night I bring it up for your thoughts.
I think it was kind of
go ahead.
I think it's been kind of a priority for a while from our citizens, and our workshop was in January, and it's August, so let's get on.
Good on. Any other feedback?
Just trying to think about how you measure, because, using your cell phone to measure sound is not very accurate. It may not be defensible. I don't know if we'd have to have some more elaborate way to measure it, or if it can't be just judgmental, And there's a difference between continuous noise and intermittent noise. Okay? And I think you have to think about that. But some of the noise that people complain to me about the most is from vehicles. And of course, they point to the little motorcycles that are here, but also some of the cars that are hot rodded and move up and down the street. So, that's a hard one to enforce and a hard one to measure. So, I'm no doubt I want to reduce the noise. I'm just trying to think about how you do it in an effective way.
I did get some feedback, I think at our workshop from Chief Condi. He said, well, you don't anticipate you're going to have my guys out there with little sticks with a microphone on the end of it running around. So we do have to think about who would enforce it. We've got codes enforcement officer, Mr. Ogle, can enforce certain codes. But of course you have to have objective standard, and you have to have a device or something that's an appropriate device. But we're not unique. There are other communities I think that we can look at. I know that there's a community not too far from us that's worried about noise from something called data center. And so, if we are to continue to be the peaceful side of the Smokies, as Commissioner Hedrick said, we probably ought to get on this. So, well, with your feedback, maybe I'll bring back something to our next committee meeting that y'all can at least take a look at. Okay, thank you for that discussion. Let's go to the next item on our agenda, Commissioners. This is ordinance 348-251T, an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Section 8-604 of the Townsend, Tennessee zoning regulations by adding residence as a permitted use in the B1 tourist district. You've got an ordinance before you here, and I believe this is the first reading. So let me read this ordinance. Ordinance number 348-25-1P, an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Section 8-604 of the Townsend, Tennessee zoning regulations by adding residence as a permitted use in the B1 tourist business district. whereas the City of Townsend Board of Commissioners, in accordance with Section 13-7-204 of the Tennessee Code Annotated, may amend the zoning ordinance and the zoning map of Townsend. And whereas the City of Townsend Board of Commissioners considers it paramount that land use regulation be managed in a manner that is consistent with the theme of the peaceful side of the Smokies. And whereas the City of Townsend Board of Commissioners seeks to encourage full-time residents. And whereas the Townsend Municipal Planning Commission reviewed the proposed zoning amendment on August 14, 2025, and recommended amending the zoning ordinance accordingly. And now, therefore, be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners, Townsend, Tennessee, that the following sections of the zoning ordinance of the City of Townsend, Tennessee, be amended as follows. Section 1, Section 8-604 is hereby amended as follows. 8-604B1 Tourist Business District. It is the intent of this district to permit fundamental commercial activities that support the vision of the City of Townsend as the gateway to the Smokies and the peaceful side of the Smokies. The regulations are intended to encourage activities that support tourism, reduce automobile traffic congestion, encourage pedestrian traffic, and maintain aesthetic characteristics of the community. Number 1, uses permitted. In order to achieve the intent of this district as shown in the zoning map of Townsend, Tennessee, the following uses are permitted. A, single-family residence. This would be the addition. B, stores and shops conducting retail business. C, personal services, business support services, and professional offices. D, public and semi-public building and uses following their review and approval by the Planning Commission. E, restaurants and brew pubs. F, motels, hotels, motels, and bed and breakfast. G, signs as regulated in Section 8-308. H, the Board of Zoning Appeals may hear and determine if in any use not listed in the permitted uses of the same general character as other permitted uses in the district and is consistent with the intent and purpose of the district. Section 2, this ordinance shall be effective from and after its passage, the public welfare requiring it. So this is first reading of this ordinance. Commissioners, you've heard the recitals there. I'd like to see if we can get this up for discussion by making a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, now we take the motion as to adopt the ordinance number 348-25-1B.
Yes, sir.
Okay, further discussion.
You know, we had a lengthy discussion about it at the Planning Commission meeting. And eventually, we all agreed that having it single-family residence in B1 had two real things. One is there are a lot of residents currently in B1. We want to preserve that because we want to preserve as many residents for citizens as we can. And so, and there are currently a lot of single-family residents that if something happened to a natural disaster or whatever and their building burned down, if more than 50% of it was destroyed, they'd have to build it back per the current regulations, which wouldn't allow them to live in it. So allowing a single-family residence in B1 to me is important, and that's what finally carried the weight at the Planning Commission.
This was a topic I stood up and spoke on at the last Planning Commission meeting. I think residents need to be in every zoning district. I don't agree with the discussion at the last Planning Commission meeting, which mentioned not allowing new residents to be built in the B1 districts. That was something that was tossed around. We should encourage as many residents as we can and not restrict new developments just to businesses. And speaking of single-family residences, another topic I spoke about but never got a response to was that living in a camper is not permitted in the city's zoning regulations. However, there are many people that have been living in a camper, yet no one has done anything about that. To allow someone to live in a camper on their property and not allow someone else to camp on theirs is kind of hard to understand. I make a motion to have this as an agenda item for Planning Commission to discuss next month.
Okay, well, we've got a motion and a second on the floor on this motion, and I'm happy to entertain that motion after we finish this discussion. Any other discussion on this one? I'll just make another reflection on the discussion at the planning commission. There wasn't a rationale for not having residences in B1. And we did talk about this at the planning commission as well. I'd encourage you all to listen to the discussion. In many communities, they try to use zoning to separate uses that are sometimes not necessarily compatible. And so part of the rationale before was we have all kinds of zoning for residences, and we have all kinds of zoning for business. And generally, if you are, in your residence, and if a business moves in next door to you, you know what that means. And so I think there was an intent previously. But what I've come to appreciate since we did that is a couple of things. I think in Townsend, we're a little bit different. We have a lot of property that's currently zoned B1. And I'll just take this opportunity to remind folks, when you drive up and down the road and you see vacant lots and you can see the river and you see the mountains and the trees, most of that is zoned B1 if you're driving along 321. We have a lot of folks that live on B1. And it's just important to know that someday, when somebody buys one of those parcels, that they do have the right to put a business on it. We respect property rights, and when something is zoned B1, you have that right. All those permitted uses that I just read can be in that zone. But what I really come to appreciate, in terms of Townsend, is anything we can do to encourage people living here reasonably full-time. One of the demographics that we've seen in the community plan is that a lot of our residences are now owned by people that don't live in Townsend. Maybe some of them come and visit Townsend. We love that. A lot of people start that way. But there's more and more of our residences that are occupied by people that never will live in Townsend, don't intend to live in Townsend. And if we ever lose this balance of full-time, what I call full-time residents, it's going to be tough to get back. And when citizens come and they speak and they say, well, we need this and we need that, it's because they live here. And if you have people that don't live here, it changes that conversation a lot. So I'm very persuaded now, taking all this into account, to put residences back in business district. People that move in there, or that currently live there, eyes wide open, you're in a B1. But I do think we need to take every opportunity. There are ways that people could build back their house. They could request, some sort of non-conforming use, but people don't want to do that. They want to have some assurance that they can build their house back. And I understand that. And so I'm in favor of this, Commissioner. So any further comments on this? And I'll call the question. All in favor on first reading of adopting ordinance number 348-25-1P, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes on the first reading. We'll see it back next month. Ordinance 349-25-1C.
Can we go back to the motion that I made?
Oh, I'm
In the
sorry.
motion?
Yes, please. You go right ahead.
I make a motion to have an agenda item on the planning commission next month to discuss people that are currently living in their campers versus why that's acceptable versus not being able to camp.
Okay, let me see if I can understand. Your motion is to ask the planning commission to take this up again, the issue of occupying recreational vehicles?
Yes, there's several people that live in their campers, and that's not allowed in the regulations, but nothing's been done about it, and I wanted to find out why that's acceptable or being allowed, but camping in your camper is not.
Okay, well, there's a couple of different things in there, so let me just see if I can help a little bit. So we do have regulations that are on the books that's clear. You cannot occupy a camper. You can store it, you're allowed to store it, but you are not allowed to occupy it. There are certain exceptions for that. For example, if you're building a house or constructing or something, you've been given okay by the building inspector to do that. But generally, it is not allowed to occupy a camper, so that's clear. And if you want to understand more about the enforcement of our regulations, you can ask city staff about that. You can ask for city staff to come and explain, how that's being enforced. I don't know that that's necessarily an issue for the planning commission. If you want the planning commission to take up looking at the zoning ordinance and potentially changing the zoning ordinance, you can ask the planning commission to do that. They have looked at it recently. They've taken public input and have not agreed to change that part of our regulation. But you could make a motion to, send something to the planning commission as a board of commissioners. We can do that. And so if you want to make a motion to ask the planning commission to do something, you can do that. The planning commission won't be able to explain how we're enforcing ordinances that are already on the books.
What I understood Becky's motion to be is that the city commission asks the planning commission to review the status of the ordinance and whether it's appropriate and if there's any recommended changes to it. And therefore I second it.
Okay, so the motion is to ask the planning commission to look again at that section of the ordinance.
That's what I understood Becky's motion to be. Yeah.
Okay, I'm clear on it. All right. Like I said, I believe the planning commission's looked at it before. I believe this board of commissioners has looked at it before. I guess we can keep looking at it. But anyhow, you've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor of the motion to ask the planning commission to look at the zoning ordinance, to look at the section about occupying campers, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed?
Opposed?
Abstain. Okay, so we've got, I'll go ahead just so we got the roll call on that. Commissioner Jenkins? Aye.
Aye, yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Opposed?
Commissioner Prater? Opposed. Commissioner Satterfield? Abstain. Commissioner Heather?
Yes.
Aye, in favor.
Aye.
Okay, so that motion does not move forward. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hager. Next up, we've got ordinance 349-25-1C, an ordinance levying a privilege tax upon the occupancy in any hotel or motel or any place in which rooms, lodging, or accommodations are furnished to transients for consideration. I'll read this ordinance, I'll do my best to read this ordinance so that people can hear what this is, and then I'll ask and see if there's a motion on this ordinance. Ordinance number 349-25-1C, an ordinance levying a privilege tax upon the occupancy in any hotel or motel or any place in which rooms or lodging or accommodations are furnished to transients for consideration. Whereas Tennessee Code annotated 67-4-1401 et sec. Authorizes the City of Townsend, Tennessee to levy by ordinance an occupancy tax or hotel/motel tax, and whereas the City of Townsend deems it to be in the best interest of the city to have such a tax, whereas the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the City of Townsend, Tennessee will be positively impacted by the adoption of this ordinance, now therefore be it enacted by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Townsend, I'll strike the word mayor, by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Townsend, Tennessee as follows. Exhibit A. Attached herein is hereby adopted and shall be codified in its entirety. All ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby expressly repealed. Number 3, this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption, the public welfare requirement, enacted by the Board of, strike mayor, Board of Commissioners of the City of Townsend, Tennessee, this day in 2025. Now, here's what this says, and this is what the ordinance will adopt. Exhibit A, Title 5, Municipal Finance and Taxation, Chapter 4, Hotel Motel Tax, Section 504, Definitions, Section 5402, Rooms to be numbered, Section 5-403, Tax Levy, Section 5-404, Collection, Section 5405, Remission to the City, Section 5406, Collection, Deployment of Report, Audit, etc., Section 5-407, operator cannot advertise that he will assume tax. Section 5408, delinquent taxes, offenses by operators and or transients. Section 5-409, operators keep records. Section 5-410, additional powers of recorder, remedies available to the taxpayer. Section 5-411, recorder to collect disposition of proceeds.
That's great.
Okay, let me see how far I can get. Section 5-401, definitions as used in this chapter. 1, consideration means the consideration charged, whether or not received for the occupancy in a hotel valued in money, whether to be received in money, goods, labor, or otherwise, including all receipts, cash, credits, property, and services of any kind or nature without any deduction therefrom whatsoever. Nothing in this definition shall be construed to imply that consideration is charged when the space provided to the person is complimentary from the operator, and no consideration is charged to or received from any person. Number 2, hotel. Hotel means any structure or space or any portion thereof that is occupied or intended or designed for occupancy by transients for dwelling, lodging, or sleeping purposes, and includes privately, publicly, or government-owned hotels, inns, tourist camps, tourist sports, tourist cabins, motels, short-term rentals, primitive and recreational vehicle campsites and campgrounds, or any place in which rooms, lodgings, or accommodations are furnished to transients for consideration. 3, municipality means an incorporated city or town or county, or a county, but does not include a county with a metropolitan form of government. Number 4, occupancy means the use or possession or right to the use or possession of any room, lodgings, or accommodations in any hotel. Operator means the person operating the hotel, whether as owner, lessee, or otherwise. Person means any individual or group of individuals that occupies the same room. 7, residential dwelling means a cabin, house, or structure used or designed to be used as an abode or home of a person, family, or household, and includes a single-family dwelling, a portion of a single-family dwelling, or an individual residential dwelling in a multi-dwelling building, such as an apartment building, condominium, cooperative, or timeshare. Number 8, short-term rental means the residential dwelling that is rented wholly or partially for a fee for a period of less than 30 continuous days and does not include a hotel as defined in sections 68-14-302, or a bed and breakfast establishment, or a bed and breakfast homestay, as those terms are defined in section 68-14-502. 9, short-term rental marketplace, short-term rental unit marketplace. This means a person or entity excluding a vacation lodging service that provides a platform for compensation through which a third party offers to rent a short-term rental unit to an occupant. 10, tourism means attracting non-residents to visit a particular municipality and encouraging those non-residents to spend money in the municipality, which includes travel related to both leisure and business activities. 11, tourism development means the creation or expansion of physical attractions, facilities, or events that are available to and open to the public, improving the appeal of destinations to tourists and enhancing tourist experiences that are primarily promoted to or used by tourists. 12, transient means any person that exercises occupancy or is entitled to occupancy of any rooms, lodgings, or accommodations in a hotel of a period of less than 30 continuous days. And 13, lodging service, vacation lodging service means a person or entity that is engaged in the business of providing the services of management, marketing, booking, and rental of short-term rental units. 14, tourism promotion means planning, conducting, or participating in programs of information, publicity, and advertising that are designed to attract tourists and foster economic activity through tourism. 15, tourist means an individual who travels more than 50 miles to a destination for business or leisure. Section 5-402, rooms to be numbered. Each sleeping room and in every hotel in the town shall be numbered in plain and conspicuous manner. The number of each room shall be placed on the outside of the door of such room, and no two doors shall bear the same number. Section 5-403, tax levy. There is hereby levied, assessed, and imposed, and shall be paid and collected a privilege tax upon the privilege of occupancy in any hotel of each transient in an amount equal to 3% of consideration charged by the operator. Such tax is a privilege tax upon the transient occupying such room as to be collected as provided herein. Section 504, collection. Such tax shall be added by each operator to each invoice prepared by the operator for the occupancy in his hotel to be given directly or transmitted to the transient, and shall be collected by such operator from the transient and remitted to the city. Section 5-405, remission to the city. The tax hereby levied shall be remitted to all operators who lease, rent, or charge for occupancy within the hotel in the city to the city recorder of the city, such tax to be remitted to such officer no later than the 20th day of each month for the preceding month. The operator is hereby required to collect the tax from the transient at the time of the presentation of the invoice for such occupancy, whether prior to the occupancy or after the occupancy, as may be the custom of the operator. And if credit is granted by the operator to the transient, then the obligation to the city entitled to such tax shall be that of the operator. Section 5-406, collection, development of report, audit, etc. The city recorder shall be responsible for the collection of such tax. A monthly tax return under oath shall be filed with the city recorder by the operator with such number of copies thereof as the city recorder may reasonably require for the collection of such tax. The report of the operator shall include facts and information as may be deemed reasonable for the verification of the tax due. The form of such report shall be developed by the city recorder and approved by the Board of Commissioners, striking here, prior to use. The city recorder shall audit each operator in the city at least once per year and shall report on the audits made on a quarterly basis to the Board of Commissioners, striking here. Section 5-407, operator cannot advertise that his will assume tax. No operator of a hotel should advertise or state in any manner, whether directly or indirectly, that the tax or any part thereof will be assumed or absorbed by the operator, or that it will not be added to the rent, or that if added, any part will be refunded. Section 5-408, delinquent taxes, offenses by operators and/or transients. Taxes collected by the operator which are not remitted to the city recorder on or before the due dates are delinquent. An operator shall be liable for the interest on such delinquent taxes from the due date at a rate of 12% per annum, and in addition for the penalty of 1% for each month or fraction thereof such taxes are delinquent. Such interest shall become a part of the tax. Each occurrence of willful refusal of the operator to collect or remit the tax, or willful refusal of a transient to pay the tax imposed, is declared to be unlawful and shall be punishable by conviction by a fine, upon conviction by a fine not in excess of $50. Section 5-409, operators to keep records. It shall be the duty of every operator liable for the collection and payment to the city of the tax imposed by this article to keep and preserve for a period of 3 years all records as may be necessary to determine the amount of such tax as he may have been liable for collection of and payment to the city. Every person to whom a permit is issued under this chapter shall at all times keep a standard hotel register in which shall be inscribed the names of all guests renting or occupying rooms and the number of the room to which the guest is to occupy, together with the time such room is rented, which records the city recorder shall have the right to inspect at all reasonable times. Section 5-410, additional powers of recorder, remedies available to taxpayer. The city recorder or other authorized collector of the tax in administering and enforcing the provisions of this act shall have as additional powers those powers and duties with respect to collecting taxes as provided by law for the county clerks. Upon any claim of illegal assessment and collection, the taxpayer shall have the remedy provided in Tennessee Code Annotated Title 67. The city recorder shall have all those powers and duties as provided in Tennessee Code Annotated Section 67-1-707B. Any tax paid under protest shall be paid to the city recorder. Any suit filed to recover taxes paid under protest may be brought by filing the same against the city recorder of the city. Section 5-411, recorder to collect disposition of proceeds. The city recorder is hereby charged with the duty of collection of this tax herein levied, and the proceeds received by the city from the tax shall be used exclusively for tourism and tourism development within the city, and shall provide an annual written report to the Commissioner of the Department of Tourist Development as required by Tennessee Code Annotated 67-4-1403. Okay, and there you have the reading of the ordinance. Can I get a motion and a second? We'll get it up for discussion, and then I'm going to turn over to City Manager to give us some additional information about this, as she's been doing some of the research on this and may be able to answer some of your questions and opinions.
I make a motion to accept ordinance number 349-25-1C.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Ms. Webb, if you could tell us a little bit about your research, about what you understand from nearby communities, how do they levy occupancy tax. We had some questions during the public input about the hotel motel tax that is currently collected. And also, I think we had a question about the accounting. I think that's explained in the ordinance, but sort of what the accounting is on that, that might be helpful as well.
Okay, well, I had a representative from the tourism department at Nashville reach out, just to kind of give us some figures about how much tax Townsend generates in just hotel tax. And he said based on the 2024 figures, Townsend had about 18 million in total estimated lodging sales. The county already gets 5% of that. They're capped at 8%. So the city could levy up to 3% to get it on theirs. We're kind of in a unique situation because some of the things that we're wanting to use these proceeds for are actually benefiting the community as well. So it's kind of a unique situation there. You just have to decide whether you want to do the full 3%, you can do 1%, Maryville and Alcoa both do 1%, you can do half, you can do quarter. I think Sweetwater just went up from 2 3/4 to 3% on theirs. The accounting part of it is we do have to do an annual report to the state every year, detailing every cent that's spent on there. We can also use it toward nonprofit organizations that would be considered a tourism draw to help them with improvements such as the Railroad Museum or the Heritage Center. But this would also help us with repairs to the bike trail, because that is a tourism draw. That was in his email. Commissioner Ezell, who's the commissioner for the Department of Tourism, he is on board and excited that Townsend's getting ready to levy their tax.
Okay, and just a comment, it is pretty clear, I think it's supposed to be used for tourism. I don't know that that excludes any of our residents from using anything like the bike trail, but it is supposed to be for tourism. Do you have to have a tourism board established? Do we have to establish a tourism board to do this? But we do have to do the accounting.
We do have to do the annual report, but we don't have to be a tourism board.
We don't have to establish a tourism board to do this. Commissioners, any other questions?
Well, having additional funds would be nice. It's raising taxes for the sole purpose of promoting tourism, and many of our residents are adamantly opposed to increasing the traffic here. That's the reason for so much heartache over the visitor centers, and all the festivals. And it is a tax that's required by law to be spent on tourism. You have to make sure that you spend the funds for items that it's intended for. You can't spend it on just anything, so record keeping would be quite extensive.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hedrick.
Any funds from that would be kept in a separate fund, just like our street fund, drug fund, and then you have to show it. Only certain things could be spent for the street fund, certain things for the drug fund. This would be the same general thing, but there again, a lot of the upgrades that we would be doing, while can be considered a tourism draw, they're also community resources for the people who live here.
City Manager, in terms of, we pay for a number of things that our visitors use. So the bike trail and all the toilets that are along the bike trail, I don't think, that we make those available to visitors. Maybe they're for visitors. The bike trail,
For users of the bike trail,
tourism draw,
locals, tourists, whoever's using it.
Swinging Bridge, we've had, issues around Swinging Bridge. How do you keep up and maintain that? I think we've got some help coming on that.
Yeah.
But like we discussed earlier tonight, things like Special People's Park, this is likely to be something that will be, hundreds of thousands of dollars, I would guess. And, I would envision that is, something that would be quite a draw. I think it was before. People from all over would write me. People that visited towns and said, I visit and I come to the Special People's Park because I can, I'm in a wheelchair or I'm something. Need that mobility access. And so we have a number of things that I think, the city tries to provide already, but what we don't have and, what parts of the county have, they have, the ability to leverage some tax on the visitors for things that, are related to tourism. In this situation, we would have the control over that, and so we would be able to make sure that, these are the things that are a priority for the city, rather than maybe priority for the county, which sometimes, I think, that sometimes the priorities are different, and we've struggled with that, and I acknowledge that, but this would seem to put it more in the control of the city, where we could get input from our folks, in terms of, what would be best to help develop tourism. It is about tourism, there's no doubt about that.
May I say something? I have lived here all my life, and there has always been tourists to Townsend. When I was a little girl, when it was a 2-lane, I remember traffic being backed up to Wallen Center because everybody wanted to look at the pumpkins that were decorated and the pumpkin houses. And I do remember personally sitting at Wallen Center and waiting 30 minutes to get to my home. We have always had a problem with tourism. This is just a tourism draw for everybody. I don't think it's going to change whether we levy this tax or not. People are still going to come to Townsend, and I would like to have safe walkways, safe bridges, and safety and things for them to do while they are here, especially to people that have disability, to have access to the river. It is a huge draw for many people. The Swingman Bridge, those things are drawn. We need to keep those up. If this tax levying will help keep the things up that the people come here to see on vacation, I think it's a wonderful idea. I'm thankful that Blount County doesn't do that whole 8%, because then we would not be able to take any of that. If they decide to levy it up to 8%, then we wouldn't be able to get any of this. I think it's a great opportunity for us at this time to be able to do that before the county does decide to raise that for some reason.
Mr. Lambert also reiterated that they did some research, and they believe that Townsend's number one on the list, cities that have the highest annual lodging sales without a city occupancy tax, statewide. We're number one on the list.
Wow. Can you say that again in the microphone?
Townsend is number one on the list of cities that has the highest annual lodging sales without the city having an occupancy tax.
So we're among the ones that don't have it.
But we have the highest annual lodging sales.
Wow. Okay.
I have a couple of procedural questions. I'm under the impression that our charter and our ordinance require the planning commission to review any proposed ordinance and make a recommendation to either pass it or fail it, and then the city commission take it up. And I don't remember reviewing this at a planning commission meeting in the last 3 months. The second thing I have is, I don't know who wrote this, and I don't want to offend anybody, but there's a whole lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. For instance, there's a definition of hotel here. We already have a definition of a hotel in our ordinances. Is this going to conflict with that? I think so.
Well, this came straight from MTS.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
They're legal. As far as the planning commission, from my understanding, they only make recommendations, they only recommend ordinances that have to do with planning or zoning.
That's not what our charter says. So,
Well, would they recommend the budget ordinance?
I don't know, but I'm just saying that I read it, and that's basically what it said, because this is basically planning. You're planning this tax.
Well, this would fall under
Okay.
private finances.
All right.
That's my understanding too. This would
Okay.
need to come to the
So-
planning commission.
In number 11, it says clearly that the money will be primarily promoted to and used by tourists. It doesn't say citizens and tourists, it says primary. Let's see. And these are just ones that came up while you were reading. I don't understand what it says. The city recorder shall be responsible for collecting the tax. A monthly tax return under oath shall be filed with the city recorder. What does under oath mean?
I'm not sure of the clarity of that, because I know anything that we get would come directly from the state.
Okay.
Whether it's tax.
And then there's some
That's not
archaic
like
stuff
that.
in here, like requiring a standard hotel register. And we're talking about overnight rentals and cabins and stuff. Anyway, it just seems not well thought out to me.
Thanks, Commissioner Jenkins. I'd like to respond on that.
Okay.
We did ask, and we've talked about this for a couple of months now, and we did ask our municipal technical advisory service, they're the ones that are experts in working with small municipalities, to look out and all the different ordinances and help us to draft one that will be the most appropriate for Townsend and includes all the right language. I disagree that the code says that this needs to come to the planning commission first, so I don't think that's correct. The thing I saw in here is that some places it says town and probably needs to say city consistently throughout, and there's places in here where it says mayor, board of commissioner. I think it needs to just say board of commissioners. I think that's,
I'll take
yeah,
that.
so those are just typos. In terms of the actual, laws, I think it's pretty clear here. I'm not super expert in how you go about, levying the tax and actually procuring it, but based on what I know and what I've read here, this seems to make sense to me. I don't have any suggestions, so I would disagree that it's not well thought out. I think it is well thought out, and furthermore, I would say it's long past due that we do this. We're the only city with the highest tourism lodging that doesn't have an occupancy tax. That just doesn't make sense to us. And I wouldn't want it to be wrapped around the action By doing things, I think you raised a good point about the motel definition. We ought to take a look at that and make sure it's aligned. But, and we can do that, I think, between first and second reading. But generally, I think this is in pretty good shape, and I wouldn't want us to spend lots of time, getting wrapped around the axle on this. So that's my perspective, and I welcome thoughts from other commissioners on it.
The only thing that kind of halts me on this is the whole 3% maybe. I know the highest is the 8%. But and I understand what Gayla said. I just don't want to hurt our businesses in the city either by levying a bigger tax in the city, like the max amount, because you might get businesses outside of the city that get more business because of that tax. But I also am for it at the same time. I just don't know if the full 3%, you know what I'm saying?
At this point, if we do 2%, the county could come back, their board of commissioners could come back and do a 6% levy. Just know that if we don't take the 3%, that at any time, one county can come in and take the other. So that is an option to be thinking about.
Okay. All right, so do we have a motion on the floor for this? We have parliamentary. Okay, I don't think we do yet. Okay.
I would maybe like a workshop on this a little further. If anybody's up for that,
We do have a motion.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second on this. So if there's any further discussion, let's have it, and then I'll call the question. If we need to, if it doesn't pass, and we'll take another approach. Okay. All in favor of adopting ordinance 349-25-1C with some of the points that we've raised about the typos, the striking mayor, changing town to city in most places to make it fit for Townsend, and making sure that we have congruence with the hotel definition. Okay, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, let's do a roll call so we get it.
Opposed?
Jenkins,
Aye.
opposed. Martin?
Aye.
Prater, aye. Satterfield?
Aye.
Hedrick?
Opposed.
Opposed. Okay. This passes on first reading, and we'll get those changes made, and we'll take a look at it on second reading. And in between time, we'll have lots of opportunity for comment from our business community and other folks that we can hear as we take it up at second reading.
Yeah. Okay, the September meeting will also be a public hearing.
Question, it's unclear. Just what percent did you vote in just then?
It's in the document.
3%.
I could not hear it. What is it?
3%.
The full 3. So now we have to charge 8%. Our people will, well, never mind.
We welcome comment on it at second reading. Okay, commissioners, let's go on to the next item on our agenda. And this is ordinance 350-25-1C, an ordinance to protect the bear population of the city of Townsend, Tennessee. And I'll read this one, and then I'll see if we can get a motion and a second for discussion. This is ordinance 350-25-1C, an ordinance to protect the bear population of the city of Townsend, Tennessee. Whereas the city of Townsend acknowledges that both intentional and unintentional bear feeding directly contributes to an increase and bear interactions. Whereas the city wishes to protect its citizens, its visitors, and its wildlife population. And whereas pursuant to the authority granted by Townsend's Charter, Article 1, Section 4, subsections S and B, S, to collect and dispose of drainage, sewage, ashes, garbage, refuse, or other waste, or license and regulate such collection and disposal, and the cost of such collection, regulation, or disposal may be funded by taxation or by special assessment to the property owner. Section B, to define, classify, prohibit, prevent, abate, suppress, and regulate all acts, practices, conduct, conditions, business occupations, callings, trades, use of property, structures, and all other things whatsoever that are public nuisances, or detrimental or liable to be detrimental to the health, morals, comfort, safety, peace, good order, convenience, or general welfare of the inhabitants of the city, and to exercise general police powers. Now therefore it be ordained by the Mayor and Board of Commissioners of the City of Townsend, Tennessee, that Section 1, Title 17, Chapter 1 shall be adopted and added to the City of Townsend Municipal Code as follows. Title 17, Refuse and Trash Disposal. Chapter, Refuse Containers, number 1. Chapter, number 1, Refuse Containers. Chapter 1, Refuse Containers. Section 17-101, Definitions. Section 17-102, Animal Resistant Refuse Containers. Section 17-103, Exceptions. Section 17-104, Violation and Penalty. Section 17-101, Definitions, as used in this chapter. 1. Animal resistant refuse containers means a container utilized for the collection and or storage of refuse equipped with locks, latches, or other mechanisms that would prevent the contents from being accessed by an animal, either wild or domestic. Number 2, refuse container enclosure means a structure whose function is to protect refuse containers from being accessed by an animal, either wild or domestic. Section 17-102, Animal Resistant Refuse Containers. All businesses in the City of Townsend shall utilize animal resistant refuse containers. 17-103, Exceptions. Refuse container enclosures shall be permitted where animal resistant refuse containers are not practical. Section 17-104, Violation and Penalty. Any violation of this chapter shall be punishable by a fine not to exceed $50. Section 2, Effective Date. This ordinance shall become effective immediately after its publication in accordance with Section 4 of the Charter of the City of Townsend, Tennessee, the Public Welfare Demanding it. Approved and adopted by the City of Townsend, Tennessee, Mayor and Board of Commissioners. Now, let me see if I can get a motion in a second. We'll have some discussion on this. Again, I'll turn to City Manager to recount how we got to this ordinance. We've had a discussion on this previously. It's been quite a long time ago. But I have had several residents bring this up to me and ask to have this item put back on the agenda. So I'm going to ask for a motion and a second, and then I'll turn to the City Manager. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion to accept ordinance number 35-25-1C.
I have a second. Okay.
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. City Manager, can you recall for us how we've gotten to this ordinance and what some of our previous discussions are, and maybe also tell us a little bit about other communities that have similar ordinances?
Well, last summer we had a lot of bear people encounters, especially in the campgrounds and the restaurants. We've had residents complaining because some restaurants were not using bear-proof containers where they could just get into their trash and being a nuisance that way. So I reached out to Impasse. I reached out. They sent a couple of examples. Gatlinburg requires it. They're a little bit different though because the people can get the refuse containers from them. So So whenever I reached out to Angie Carrier, she said, we could put it in this form as bear protection to protect them, and we're not requiring, so there are two different kinds, the animal resistance refuse, and then the refuse container closure. So we're not requiring them necessarily to get a bear-proof dumpster, but they have to have mechanisms to prevent bears from getting in.
Okay. So there's some
To their
flexibility, either
Not
a
just
beer
leave it out there for
refuse container or a refuse container enclosure.
And this was brought about mainly to our restaurants in Townsend, because that's where we were seeing a lot of that bear activity. By having dumpsters that do not lock or latch, or have a lock or latch on them, and getting out and being nuisance.
Yeah. I've been contacted by citizens that are just afraid of bears. There are certain places in town that are sort of known to be frequented by bears. They're afraid of encountering bears. And I have other people that are really worried about the bears themselves. And that's how this is about bear safety, is if bears repeatedly have interactions with people, and if they have certain types of interactions that are not favorable, then these bears can actually be put down. And so there is an element of trying to make sure that the bears are protected as well as the people. We have a lot of bears. They come through my yard all the time. They probably come through your all's yard too. We love the bears. We like to see the bears. We want to make sure that the bears continue to thrive. We have, Townsend, sort of outside the city limits, is the home of Appalachian Bear Rescue. But we're known for bears in this area. And so our citizens, while they have some respect for bears, some of them are a little bit frightened, especially when they, come out of a restaurant at night and there's a bear in the trash can. We've had a bear walking across in front of City Hall at one of our meetings. And so, this is something that other communities have. It sounds like it provides a level of flexibility for our businesses to be able to comply with this. But, I have had people ask, can you call TWRA? I've seen a bear down at such and such. And, sometimes we've had not good outcomes for the bears when that happens. So those are some of my thoughts on this for discussion.
The city itself has a dumpster and it is locked. Our maintenance makes sure that there is a lock. Bears cannot get in our dumpster. I mean, as a city, we are taking that step. We're not asking our restaurants or businesses to do something that we are not already doing. And I have another question. Violation and penalty. The $50, is that just per offense, or is that each day that the offense happens? Per day, as if it doesn't get fixed? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Those were the only questions and comments that I had.
Commissioner Hayter.
Yeah, I really like the idea of protecting the bears, but I'm not a big fan of the city telling everyone what they must do. I'm not sure I want to require our citizens to buy new trash containers in the guise of protecting the bears. Just like the ones that we bought a while back, they're several $1,000s. Right now it's written for businesses, but soon it'll be for the residents as well, and I don't want that to happen. I'd like to see if we can get our business owners to do a better job of trash contaminations through education and not have more laws.
I don't think it'll ever be moved to where we require residents for that. Gatlinburg does, but they also have an assistance program to help people that can't afford to get a bear-proof dumpster. We do not have that capability. Therefore, I don't see us ever requiring residents to. We just want them to be smart. Don't put your trash out the night before. Like to also get some bear-wise programs in here, maybe a couple of times a year, for anybody who wants to come, but mainly for our short-term rental people, because we have a lot of people come in from out of state that don't know. They'll just set their trash on the porch. I get at least 3 calls a month when people need us to come take care of a problem bear that won't let them out of their cabin. So I think just a lot of education, but right now we're just focusing on the restaurants. Block the dumpster.
I've got a question. It says animal-resistant refuse containers mean a container that is utilized for collection and/or storage of refuse equipped with locks, latches, or other mechanisms. We got a dumpster at our church. It's got a chain and a latch on it.
That would be a refuse container enclosure. What we have up there is from TC Environmental, it's a bear-proof dumpster that they come and go
Okay.
twice a week.
Okay,
So
but,
they can do either or.
Okay.
Just make sure it's secure.
okay, but is it as simple as just putting a chain and a latch on something, or?
They're metal doors on top. So the fire don't get off, you get big enough fire, plastic on it, they just won't go in, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, bungee cords won't work because.
What if it didn't, what if it had a metal top on it? I think ours has a metal top on
I've got a question.
It says all businesses. So my question is, what is a business? If I have an overnight rental, is that a business? And therefore I'm required to have it? I mean, just saying all businesses is kind of open-ended.
Well, I mean, that, y'all can further define or clarify the verbiage. This is the model that I sent, that's kind of a short version of what the applicant requires.
it? If restaurants are the problem, would you want to move forward with restaurants now, or?
I think for all businesses is really up to interpretation by a lot of people different ways. I think it needs to be more specific.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
What if you amended it to say restaurants?
Well, I'm playing devil's advocate here, but IGA needed one because they had bears in their dumpster, so they needed one lot, and they're not a restaurant.
Oh, but they sell food out of the.
I know, but I'm just devil's advocate. What businesses are required, which ones aren't, and what is a business? We get into discussions like that quite often.
They have a restaurant.
Okay.
IGA is restaurant.
Okay. So, anyway,
Is this gonna be costly though for them to implement? I mean, how much money would it cost the businesses to get these refuse containers?
Oh, I mean, if they go with the bear-proof dumpsters like we have on their maintenance, they would go through TC Environmental unless they just wanted to buy one outright. From somewhere that'd be pretty costly. That's why they have the two options on them to secure what they already have, because we have some that are not keeping that.
I know Apple Valley at one time used to, a long time ago, have an electric fence around theirs. When it was used, sometimes the employees would not hook it back to the electric part, so it did not work effectively. But there are options that are more cost efficient. How much do we pay for ours?
It's $120 a month, and then we get it done, we get a second weekly service, so that's another $40-50.
Or we get it, how often do we get it done?
Twice a week.
Twice a week?
So that's $120 a month for a bear-proof one.
Per bear.
What would it be for one that wasn't bear-proof?
I mean, I'm assuming they could use what they already have, but just secure it with chains or something, or locks somehow.
Okay. All right, Commissioners, we've had good discussion on this. We'll call the question. We'll see where it goes from there. If it is passed tonight, it will be on for second reading, and we'll have an opportunity to have more public input on it. I'll ask one more time. We've got a motion and a second. If we want to amend that motion to suggest amending this just to limit this to restaurants. Is there any interest in doing that?
I'm not sure I understood the question.
We've got a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance as it's written, but that motion could be amended to
And so
limit this to where it says all businesses.
17-102.
I don't know if you want to do that, because as you said, that Reynolds are having issues with their trash, and that's not a restaurant.
Okay, so you would not be in favor of limiting that?
I think it'd be good to start with this, with just restaurants, and see how that looks and how it goes, and see if, you know, if it seems to be a problem with Reynolds, so we can change the language and add to it later on. But I think we need to start somewhere with something.
Okay, who made the motion? Oops, sorry, Mr. Ogle, you wanna-
What if you worded it as food establishments? That would include the grocery store as well. It's not technically a restaurant.
Okay, so change it, all food establishments in the city. So if you're selling food, that's what they're after, food. Okay, who made the motion? Let's see
I
if
made
they,
the motion.
okay, are you, willing to entertain changing all businesses to all food establishments?
Yes, I would like to see the ordinance number 350-251C changed to say food establishments.
Section 17.
Or all, would you say all
Food establishments.
food establishments in the city?
Okay, who seconded this? Is that- Are you amenable to that change?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Okay.
So how many, I'm sorry, one more question. So how, do we have a lot of restaurants in town that don't have the bear proof already? We do? I didn't realize that. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll call the question on this one. All in favor of ordinance 350-25-1C as amended, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, with Commissioner Hedrick opposed, that passes on first reading. All right, Commissioners, let's go to the next ordinance. This is ordinance 351-25-1C, an ordinance to amend Title I of the Townsend Municipal Code regarding Board of Commissioners, adding a role of parliamentarian to the Board of Commissioners. I'll go ahead and read this, and then we'll see if we can get a motion in a second to get it up for discussion. Ordinance number 351-25-1C, an ordinance to amend Title I of the Townsend Municipal Code regarding Board of Commissioners. Whereas Title I of the Townsend Municipal Code needs to be updated to reflect changes to the general rules of order for meetings. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Townsend, Tennessee, that Section 1, Title I, Chapter 1 of the Townsend Municipal Code is amended by adding the following to existing Section 1-103. Section 1-103, General Rules of Order. At the first regular meeting during a term of the Board of Commissioners, a parliamentarian shall be appointed by the mayor, if one is available, to resolve all issues of procedure and to ensure compliance with all applicable rules of order. If the parliamentarian role becomes vacant for any reason, then a new parliamentarian shall be appointed by the mayor at the first Board of Commissioners meeting following the vacancy. Parliamentarians shall be a member of the Board of Commissioners. All members of the board shall acquaint themselves with the rules of order. Section 2, this ordinance was passed unanimously on two considerations on this day, 2025, the public good and welfare demanding that its passage not be postponed. Okay? Do I have a motion and a second on this ordinance?
Make a motion to accept it.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we got it up for discussion. We've discussed this a few times. We asked city manager to see if there was a way we could hire a parliamentarian. what was the result on that?
I only know two people that are certified parliamentarians. One is the city reporter of Knoxville. One is the MTS executive director, but I could not find anything about hiring anybody.
Okay. And you sent us some information about rules of order, and it's a responsibility of all the Board of Commissioners to understand the rules of order and to be able to follow them.
Yeah.
And we should take training and make sure that we have that understanding, because it's really important. Any other discussion on this motion?
I'd like to make a motion to change, parliamentarians shall be appointed by the mayor to elected by the Board of Commissioners.
All right. Let's see, I think there's only one place, no, there's two places in here. I'm thinking you want it changed in both places.
Yes, please.
Be elected by the Board of Commissioners. All right. Who made the motion? Who started the motion?
Thank you.
Okay. And you're requesting the amendment, and who seconded it?
I did.
Okay. Are you accepting of that amendment?
Yes.
Okay. I'll read it. At the first regular meeting during the term of the Board of Commissioners, a parliamentarian shall be elected by the Board of Commissioners, if one is available, to resolve all issues of procedure and ensure compliance with all applicable rules of order. If the parliamentarian role becomes vacant for any reason, then a new parliamentarian shall be elected by the Board of Commissioners at the first Board of Commissioners meeting following the vacancy. The parliamentarian shall be a member of the Board of Commissioners. All members of the board shall acquaint themselves with the rules of order. Okay? Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor of ordinance 351-25-1C as amended, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, the motion passes with Jenkins and Martin opposing, and Prater, Satterfield, and Hedrick agreeing. So we'll have this again on second reading at our next meeting, and we'll need to figure out how we will actually implement that. Easement agreement between the City of Townsend and the Tuckaleechee Utility District, an agreement to allow Tuckaleechee Utility District access to their water tank via the Gene Mosher Memorial Park. Commissioners, you've had a chance to take a look at this. This is a access and right-of-way agreement. The city water tank is important for our residents, and TUD is requesting access to that water tank. My understanding is their current arrangement is no longer suitable, and so they have approached us for access. What this arrangement entails would be granting access, 15-foot wide strip of land going up the side of the city park and abutting the public right of Mountain Avenue and running along the south portion of the city. They would be responsible for maintaining that road there. And so I am asking for your input on entering into this access and right-of-way agreement. So let me see if I can get a motion and a second to get this up for discussion. And the motion would be to allow me to enter into this agreement on behalf of the city with the Tuckaleechee Utility District.
Make a motion to give you the right to go into agreement with Tuckaleechee United District of Glenn County with the easement.
Okay, have a second?
Second.
Okay. City Manager? Manager, any reflections on this one? Anything you want to share?
The only thing I report is the water board did meet yesterday, and they did agree and approve and sign the agreement on here.
Okay.
Is this what was, last year? There was something that came through that,
We've been talking about this for quite a while. You're right in remembering
it
that.
would be nice to see the map.
We use Exhibit A, it's not attached.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there was a map last time,
Mhm.
and then do we know why they can't access their water tower now?
I'm not sure what the reasons are for that.
It was on private property, or the owner was giving them rights, and they have decided not to do that no longer, is what he shared in the meeting a year ago.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to see the map.
Okay. Was the map provided?
No.
All right. I can read the description. I don't know if that's satisfactory to move this forward, but let me see if I can read it and see if that's satisfactory, and then if we need a map, we'll have to have a map. The city hereby does hereby grant, convey, remise, release forever, quitclaim unto the district, and the district hereby accepts a perpetual and permanent access and right-of-way easement across the city property from Mountain Avenue, a public road, to the surrounding property for the purpose of ingress and egress to the surrounding property to access the district property, being more particularly described as follows. Being a 15-foot wide strip of land in Blount County, Tennessee, beginning at the southwesternmost point of the city property and abutting the public right-of-way of Mountain Avenue, as shown in Exhibit A, and running along the entire southern portion of the city property to the surrounding property, also shown in Exhibit A. Said description having been prepared by the district based on publicly available maps and data. I mean, I think it runs right alongside the property line up to the water tower.
That's what I remember from the meeting last year.
In here it mentions a perpetual and permanent access and right-of-way easement. What if in the future there becomes a better alternative? Or we want to not let them have this anymore? Perpetual and permanent access is kind of permanent.
It's permanent. That's what it is.
And
Usually,
if there's some reason that the people that they had the access to no longer wants them to have that access,
yeah, I
we want to,
don't know the reasons for that, but that is private property. But I don't have any more details on that.
but the perpetual and permanent is,
That's what it is. It's permanent.
there's some pages.
I don't have 4 pages. I have 1.
City Manager, when this was sent around initially in our packet, did it have the map attached?
I don't remember getting a map with this version of the agreement.
Okay.
I make a motion that we take out permanent access and do something like, the visitor center where you renew it every 5 years or something like that. Permanent, just kind of skate permanent, yeah. permanent.
Yeah, usually that's the way an easement will work, but
Well, I do like that they're willing to maintain the road. It's really hard to get up there to the park right now in a regular vehicle.
I think, and Mr. Jones, I'll come to you. My understanding is that they would maintain the road up there over. It doesn't say that, that would be, but they would maintain that road in perpetuity. Mr. Jones?
You need to keep, they need to keep in mind till that field line is over on that side too, so they need to know that.
Say that
The
again.
field line is from the school, the backup is on that side.
Yeah,
So probably need to get the layout and see how far over it goes, wherever they want to cut that in.
I'd like to make a motion for them to provide a map showing the field line, so that everyone knows where it is and the location of everything, and possibly adjust the permanent in the verbiage.
okay. Well, we've got a motion on the table, and so let's deal with that first. My suggestion is it does seem like we ought to be able to take a look at the map, and then we can have the fill line. So what we could do is just table this and get the map and bring it back at our next meeting, or if there's some urgency, we could have a special call meeting. Would that meet your,
That's what I meant to say, make a motion to postpone it until we get the map showing all of the permits.
I think the correct way to do it would be to take that motion that's on the table and just table it, and then, no? What do we do?
We can't
Postpone it. If you table it, you have to pick it up in the same meeting.
Oh, I see, okay, so what would we do?
Postpone.
Just postpone it, okay.
Since I made the motion, I make a motion to postpone this to our next meeting with the Chattahoochee Utility District till we get a map and reword to a 5-year term.
Okay, we can postpone to the next meeting.
She made the
That's the motion,
Need
do
a
I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Let me be sure before I vote. We're voting on postponing till next month.
Yes.
Okay.
Until we have the map and.
And changing verbiage to 5 years.
Aye. I'll say aye.
Okay. Motion is to postpone this until next month and get the map. And we can discuss the verbiage. Let's make sure we've got the motion straight. Is the motion to change the verbiage, or is it to postpone and get the map? And
It is to postpone to next month's meeting for the water department to secure us a map with the sewage lines intact to make sure that everything is in regulations and in codes for the safety of our community. And let's go ahead while we're doing that and change it to a 5-year agreement. So it's all the above.
okay, that's okay. A second?
Yes, I'm okay with that second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, we'll bring that one back. Next one we've got is unfinished business, January the 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes. So commissioners, in your packet, you will see the meeting minutes from our meeting of January the 3rd, 2025. We've talked about this a little bit already. In the bottom section, it is just the exact words that we passed on February the 19th, 2025. And the amendment would be to reflect what actually happened. And the amendment says, this day of August 2025, after several rounds of polling and tabulated votes read aloud, a motion was made by Commissioner Hedrick and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve Tommy McAvoy and John McMahon for appointments to the Board of Zoning Appeals and recommendation of Joanne Funk for the Planning Commission. The motion was passed unanimously with 5 yea votes. The vote was conducted publicly following an appropriate motion and second. That would be the amendment. So can I get a motion and a second? We'll get this up for discussion and discuss amending our meeting minutes for January 3rd, 2025.
Make a motion to amend the meeting for January 3rd of 2025.
Okay, I have a second. Second, okay. We got a motion and a second. Again, as I said at the beginning of the meeting, this video is up online, so it's transparent. We were transparent in the process that we used. We did conduct polling, and after we completed the polling, we took a vote. What was not in our previous minutes was the actual vote and the decision. But if you go there and review the videotape, it's pretty clear. And again, I'll read it. It just says, after several rounds of polling with tabulated votes read aloud, a motion was made by Commissioner Hedrick and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve Tommy McAvoy and John McMahon for appointments to the Board of Zoning Appeals and a recommendation of Joanne Funk for the Planning Commission. The motion was passed unanimously with 5 yea votes. The vote was conducted publicly following an appropriate motion and second. So I think that accurately reflects what we did. And that's all the meeting minutes are supposed to do, is accurately reflect what we did. Any further discussion?
The tabulated votes were still done by secret ballot. That's how you got the tabulated votes.
Okay, well, that's contained in the meeting minutes. They're for the purpose of polling. You can go back and listen to that recording
So is
several times and clear that it's polling that we're doing.
So is this amendment approved by the city attorney?
Amendment was reviewed by the city attorney.
Now, Joanne Funk's appointment to the planning commission didn't matter whether we voted on it or not, because it was at the...
It was a recommendation.
Right.
And again, it happened.
Yeah,
So-
but
So the minutes are just supposed to accurately reflect what happened. Okay, any further discussion? I'll call the question, we'll see where we're at. Okay, all in favor of approving the amendment to our minutes as read for January 3rd, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed?
opposed,
Okay, let's do a roll call. Jenkins?
opposed,
Martin?
Aye.
Prater? Aye. Satterfield?
Aye.
Hedrick?
Opposed?
Okay, these meeting minutes are approved. Okay, Commissioners, it's been a very long night, and I appreciate your perseverance. We've gotten a lot of good work done, I think, on behalf of the city. We've had a good discourse, I think. This brings us to public input not on the agenda. So we'll take our public input as our next item.
My favorite.
Thank you. I would suggest looking at several things that you discussed tonight, making them more definitive. For example, the maintaining of the road is being agreed to be handled by party X. I wasn't paying attention to know the name. But if you don't define what maintaining the road is, your definition could be entirely different from mine or anyone else's. And your definition needs to be defined in the document, I believe. Proud of y'all for taking the step to put a parliamentarian amongst you. I believe that will serve you well in time. And overall, pretty good meeting. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Draper. Anyone else?
sorry, during the fire thing, I sad announcement, I didn't let people know this, but our assistant chief, Stan Totten, passed away last week. He was, late Stan was 97. Stan served over 70 years in the fire service, almost 30 of it here in our community. He also won the Presidential Volunteer Award from the National Park Service for his volunteerism there. That's the highest honor that you can get from this country for your volunteer service. So a mentor for me as a new chief starting out, not knowing what I was doing. He served as a fire chief in New Jersey where he grew up. Also pretty much wrote the book on hazmat response, the early hazmat response in the 80s. Was a certified teacher for the Fire Academy in FPA and taught around the country, taught hazmat classes, so, and a Korean War veteran as well. So he passed away. He's been living with his daughter for about 6 months and had a bad fall and passed away from that. We will have a service here. They're cremating him, bringing him back here September 20th. It will be at the fire hall. The family's requested to use the fire hall. And then we will proceed to Grandview Cemetery. We'll take him in Engine 1. And Engine 1 was the first new engine that we bought. Stan spec'd that engine and also wrote the grant to get that engine. So we'll be publishing that a little bit more on our website and everything. I just wanted y'all to know that most y'all knew Stan. Been a fixture in our community for over 30 years. So.
Okay, well, thank you, Chief, for bringing that to our attention. It's really important. So he served here in Townsend, served our community. Well, I would like to make a motion that we recognize Assistant Chief Stan Cotton, if we make a recognition of his service on behalf of the city, and that we allow you to present that or have one of our city folks present that. So,
That would be great.
so make a motion that we recognize the service of Assistant Chief Stan Cotton. Second?
Second, Totten.
Oh.
Totten.
Tot.
Totten. T.
T.
Totten.
Okay.
So,
Spell
D-O-T-T-E-N.
T-O-T-T-E-N. Tot.
I'm tired, my accent gets worse as I
Mine too.
Excuses,
So we'll make sure that we get it right on the recognition. We got a motion in the second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. That is a really good thing to end on, to think about the service that folks provide to our community. Additional public comment? Yes, sir.
I can take 1 minute of your time.
Absolutely.
I'll make it brief.
You've been very patient.
All right. Good evening. My name is David Gerard. I'm a resident of Townsend, at 8244 State Highway 73. I'm also a business owner in Townsend. My wife and I are the proprietors of the Townsend River Breeze Inn on the street. So I know it was an agenda item, but I hope you'll allow me to give you my input on the hotel taxes. I've just got a brief statement I'd like to make, share with you. See if I can find it. There we go. So, I was not aware of the tax until tonight, so I've got very limited knowledge on it. So, but what I would like to say is, from what I've heard, on its surface, it appears the intent of the tax is to fund community projects such as the bike path, Special People's Park, the swinging bridge, etc. And I'm sure there's other things as well. With those goals in mind, I would suggest that the board consider levying a tax on visitors that are dining in Townsend, either to replace the tax on hotel occupancy or subsidize it. My reason for that is, and it's my opinion, that there may very well be a larger tax base from diners than there are lodging occupants. There is a limited amount of motel rooms in Townsend, and it appears to me that there is a greater number of people coming to enjoy Townsend for the day, with many of them choosing to have a meal while they are here. A good example of this would be the large amount of visitors coming to events and the number of people coming into town to ride bikes, which is noticeable by the amount of cars occupying public parking early in the day and on weekends, as well as the increased vehicle traffic during the hours our restaurants are open. While some of these folks are staying overnight, I would venture to say there is a greater number of these folks having a meal and going home. It appears to me these individuals are more likely to impact those facilities the city is intending to prove through the current occupancy tax proposal. It may very well be possible that a tax on diners could be a smaller tax due to the greater number of folks eating in Townsend rather than staying in Townsend, and have a greater impact on generating the revenue needed to achieve the intent of the tax by those who are creating greater impact. Further, most people that are visiting Townsend overnight are also dining in Townsend. Therefore, a smaller tax on dining would cover a larger base of people using the public amenities in Townsend. The 3% additional lodging tax clearly appears to be following the path of least resistance for acquiring additional revenue for Townsend. Obviously, the logic here is to capture the remaining lodging tax for the city of Townsend, rather than let it be forfeited to the county. However, this tax will certainly have a negative impact on motel occupancy in Townsend. I implore the commission to take a hard look at this and explore all options made available to them before making this decision, and take the livelihoods of our resident independent hotel owners into consideration, which may very well make up the majority of motel bed occupancy in Townsend. This tax appears to be placing the burden of collecting additional revenue on the minority of our guests visiting Townsend and the minority of the establishments that are serving them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Anyone else to speak, or Mr. Hedrick? Oh, Commissioner Hedrick has other business. Well, let's see, do we have anybody else that would like to speak? Okay, we'll close that input. Commissioner Hedrick.
And thank you for standing up and saying that you had not much information on the tax before you listened to us talking. That's what I'm getting ready to talk about in other business. The meeting packet information. And I've gotten a lot of questions on the ordinance for the protection of the bear population because everybody loves bears around here. And I've also received questions on other agenda items in the past. I'd like to make a motion to have all of our agenda packet items posted on our website for residents to be able to review. I also think that would be more engagement if they are available. People could come and show support or non-support of items and ask questions. But if they don't have the information, nobody knows what it's about and what's going on. I know personally, I went to a Blount County meeting and I was going to talk about a topic, and I thought it was going to be just like this. I was going to go in blind, but I happened to look on their website and they had all their information. So I was able to read their backup data and have a better understanding of what was going on so I could speak about that. And I know we talk about resources, but if we take this and just upload it to the internet, we're done, and people in our community can know what's going on.
I'm sorry, can you rephrase the motion for me, please?
I would like to make a motion to have all of our agenda packet items posted on our website for residents to be able to review.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, let's have some discussion on that.
How far ahead do you expect this to happen? Like 3 days, 10 days?
I'd like it as soon as possible, but if the minimum is 48 hours, at least the same time as the agenda gets posted, at a bare minimum.
Fair time?
tonight was a prime example of why it would be nice to have our meeting agenda packets online.
Commissioner Jenkins, further thoughts?
No, I'm listening to what Becky said, thinking about it.
Let me go to city managers, because I'm all about transparency. I don't know, it wasn't that long ago that after I joined the planning commission, we started putting our agendas up online. We did that long before the state required us to do that. Shortly thereafter, many folks in this commission agreed to put our agendas up online for our city council meeting. We did that in advance of the requirement to put things up 48 hours in advance. We do our best, I think, to try to make sure that the items are descriptive. If there is a way to increase transparency, that we can do within the resource constraints that we have, I support that. We're recording our meetings and posting those online. That's a big resource commitment, but that is another way that we're trying to make sure that people have transparency. If there are resources that, and we can figure out a way to put more information up there, I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but I would like to hear from interim city manager about, what level of resources it would require in order to be able to do this. Commissioner Jenkins asked how far in advance would we do this? We want to serve our citizens, but I'm aware that, at the moment, we spend a fair chunk of our time doing records requests. We've had a big bump recently in being able to respond to that thing that's a requirement to do. So,
The biggest thing here is that you have one city staff that's doing everything. So time is kind of limited getting stuff put up. We're getting ready to get a new website, so hopefully we can train more people to be able to do that. And then we can put them up. It's totally hard.
okay. But, we are a small city. We try to do our best. We try to absolutely meet all the requirements that we have. And so I'm pretty confident that we're meeting all the requirements. We're doing as much additional stuff we're not required. I don't think we make movies and post them, but we try to do that. That is something that we've been able to navigate with our current resources. I wouldn't mind, taking this back up in another few months when maybe we have more than one city staff to be able to address it and to be able to figure out, how do we want to go about it, how much resources does it require, how many far in advance are we going to do. I think it's a reasonable suggestion, but we are not the county, and we don't have all the resources that the county has. And so I'd just like to make sure that we can do that. And we're at the point now, commissioners, with our city staff. I mean, they're working more than they should be working, trying to do all the things that we're required to do. And even then, it's not really, we're not able to sort of meet that. And I think it's a big challenge. I'm not against doing something like this, but I do think we need to be very thoughtful and careful about it and, go into it eyes wide open in terms of what it would require and what we would ask our city staff to stop doing. There's certain things we can't not do. Records requests we have to do. And that's been...
And that takes a big chunk of time away from stuff.
We have to put in place, improved personnel practices and procedures. And so, while I would like to see what that requires and be able to do that, because I think that would be a benefit to our citizens, we're doing a lot of other things at the moment to be able to meet the requirements of our citizens. And so we have to be very thoughtful about doing the nice-to-haves at this moment. So those are some of my thoughts.
Could we postpone this to November? By then, the new website should be up. We'll have a new city manager, we'll have some more staff, and then we can work on what we would like that to look like. Can we pick this back up? We get to vote in October on a new city manager, and not that we forget it, literally pick this back up in November and think of what our expectations would be of how soon we wanted it to get up. And by then the website will be up and it'll be easier. That'll give us Gayla a couple months to know how to work the website to be able to upload those documents.
I would say after we vote on new city manager, because then you'll have 2 office staff. And not necessarily wait another month after that.
Well, we'll be voting them on October. We probably want to give them at least a month to get acclimated to the new position. And then by then, when are we getting the new website up and running, Gayla?
We're in the process now of picking the design and stuff for the app, and the website will mirror that. So Chief and I are working on that with
Do you have when you should have that done? Do you think it will be done and ready and up by November?
hopefully, I
Okay.
can't guarantee, I don't know what their turnaround time is.
Okay. But I think the website will be up and functional, and that'll give the new city manager a month and for Gayla and them to get, and then, I mean, I feel like, we're requiring by law, we're doing what we can, by law, we're doing what we are asked to do. And it is an extra, and it is something wonderful for our citizens and things. I'm not opposed to it, I just like to wait until we have the staff and the website's up and running properly.
Well, if we do that, can we add more description to these things? Or make it, protection of the bear population doesn't say garbage can. And the tax did not say adding a 3% tax on hotel motels. Could we add, until you get that, can you add more?
So more than a
Yes.
single sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is an opportunity to review the agenda before it's posted, and if anybody thinks that these are not descriptive enough, there's an opportunity for somebody to say, hey, this is not descriptive enough, or this, can I have a little bit more detail in here? We can do that now. I would be in favor of postponing this motion until November.
I do too, till the new website is up.
That's better than nothing.
Okay, well, let's try to do it correctly. Let's make a motion to postpone this item until our November meeting.
Don't we have a motion on the floor already? Didn't she?
Yes, and it was seconded. So how do you go about
So
postponing?
she has to modify the motion
To postpone.
to postpone.
I don't know that that's how it is.
Well, that's your-
I can do it. I'll make a motion to modify the motion to postpone till November for adding the agenda packet items to our website.
Okay, are you in agreement on the second?
Yes.
Okay, and the motion is to postpone the discussion on adding agenda items to our packet items, posting them online to November. Is that correct? Tell me again. I'm sorry.
Yes, or can we just say in November we're gonna start posting them?
Well, I think we need to have the discussion to see if we're ready and how we want to do it. It's not, we haven't figured out how to post them, when to post them.
Let's postpone until November for this discussion.
What's your modified motion? Let's see if the second accepts.
Postpone the discussion for adding our agenda item packets to our website to November.
Agree.
I'll second, yes.
Okay. All in favor of the motion to postpone adding agenda item packets to our website to November, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I think that's reasonable, and I think, we should take that discussion. So thank you, Commissioner Hedrick. Thank you, Commissioners, for your patience, and thank you for your endurance. It was a long meeting tonight, but I think we got a lot accomplished on behalf of the citizens. Can I have any other business? Any other business? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Aye.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay.